has been sued again. I feel like this
Shocker.
is just another day in Diddy's life. But
really is.
I guess the interesting aspect of this one is that he is being sued by a former child actor.
Yeah, so he was assaulted.
This week, a convicted Diddy serves a 50-month sentence at Fort Dix. A brand new lawsuit just landed accusing him of assaulting a minor in 2007. And at the exact same moment, an unverified rumor is painting a picture of him eating steak on his private patio by summer. Those two realities cannot coexist. The fact that someone wants you to believe they can is the first thing you should find suspicious. And the timing of the second story makes the whole thing feel less like coincidence and more like a door someone slammed shut on purpose. The BOP rumor did not drift in from nowhere. It arrived less than a week after a humiliating leaked tape, after 50 Cent spent days publicly mocking him, after Daphne gave interview after interview keeping the pressure blazing. That is not bad luck. That is a counteroffensive. And the speed of it tells you something about who might be desperate to change the conversation right now.
His agent, some agents out there, and also Diddy's team. No comment.
Yeah,
so
well,
far.
we just got it. I have the update.
Yeah.
That's what I was just grabbing my phone for.
Oh,
So we
what's the
were
update?
waiting for a response from Diddy's team. Also, we don't know because they filed as a John Doe.
Doe.
Because when I first saw this, I was like, oh, damn, child actor. Like, I wonder if it's like one of the big child actors.
Yeah.
We do not know at this moment yeah.
So let me lay out exactly what the rumor is selling because the details are specific enough to sound real. And that is the first reason to be suspicious. Music, according to a swirl of articles and social media posts, a new Bureau of Prisons administrative directive is supposedly overhauling how time credits are calculated under the First Step Act and the Second Chance Act. And Diddy's legal team has already discovered it and moved with what was described as absolute high-key frenzy. The math being whispered goes like this: 678 remaining days divided into 30-day programming blocks yields roughly 22.6 blocks. Multiply those by 15 days of credit per block, and you get 339 days that could come off his sentence. Add in up to 12 months of pre-release placement under the Second Chance Act, and the man could supposedly be looking at a transfer to a halfway house or home confinement as soon as this summer. Insider whispers claim his file is at the absolute top of the automated stack, that his attorneys have already filed formal requests with the Northeast Regional BOP director, and that Diddy himself is ecstatic. It all sounds very urgent, very precise, very inside baseball. Now, stop there. The Bureau of Prisons has confirmed exactly none of this. Not the directive, not the calculation, not the filing, music, not the priority placement. Total institutional silence. And into that silence, the rumor has spread like an infection, filling every gap with math that feels leaked and insider detail that somehow still has no name attached to it, no document you can pull up, no official statement you can read for yourself. If that structure makes your stomach tighten a little, it should. The same media ecosystem currently pushing the summer release fantasy previously sold the public on a Trump pardon for Diddy, sourced to what was breathlessly called a high source from the White House and amplified by TMZ. That pardon never materialized. The hope inflated, the news cycle churned, and then the whole thing collapsed into ash. That is the pattern, and the pattern is what makes the current rumor feel less like a development and more like a script somebody already used once and is now running again with a different policy acronym. And then, there is the image they chose to plant in your head, eating steak on his private patio music this summer. You have to sit with that image for a moment because it is not accidental. It is class-charged and specific, designed to lodge in your brain. The convicted mogul supposedly getting special treatment, relaxing in comfort while everyone else sits in a cell. It is a visual engineered to provoke something, but the real question is for whose benefit. Because while you are picturing Diddy on that patio, a new lawsuit filed this very week describes a networking party in the Hollywood Hills in May of 2007, where a working actor who had not yet reached 18 was allegedly guided into a private room under the pretext of discussing an upcoming project. The filing describes what happened after the door closed, the discomfort that was expressed, the acts that followed. That lawsuit is real, it is filed, it is public, music, and it lands at the worst possible moment for anyone trying to sell you a story about a man who deserves an early exit. Music. So, ask yourself who benefits from you picturing comfort right now, when court documents are describing something else entirely. Music, the rumor is emotional counter-programming, and the timing is the tell. He said, nobody that I deal with, nobody that I know is going to do anything with y'all. No business at all. So if the exit door is painted on a wall, the next question is, who is holding the brush? And that is where the defense team's own actions stop looking like a strategy and start looking like a contradiction with a pulse. Diddy's lawyers are currently pursuing an appeal of his, a full legal argument that the entire case was unjust, that he was punished for conduct the jury acquitted him of, that the trial itself was flawed. That appeal has a hearing reportedly scheduled for April, and it costs serious money to keep that machinery running. Now hold that next to the BOP rumor. You cannot beg for early release credits that only exist if the conviction is valid while simultaneously telling a court the conviction should never have happened. Those two strategies cancel each other out. You do not file an appeal arguing you were wronged by the system, and then turn around and ask that same system to do you a favor on your way out the door. The contradiction is not subtle, and it raises an uncomfortable question about whether either path is actually meant to succeed, or whether both are being run for reasons that have nothing to do with the calendar and everything to do with managing a client who does not handle stillness well. Something else sits in the background, and it has been captured in footage that is already public. Diddy constantly phoning his attorney Mark Agnifilo, the calls documented in a way that makes the dynamic hard to unsee. This is not a throwaway detail. It is the visual evidence of a client who is desperate, high maintenance, and unwilling to sit quietly while the process grinds forward. Watch that footage and you see a man who pushes, who demands movement, who cannot accept a sell when his brain is still running a business empire. And that is where the rumor starts to read very differently. If you are a legal team managing a client like that, a client who calls constantly, who needs to feel progress, what do? One theory, and it is a pattern too loud to ignore, is that you feed that client hope. You tell him about directives and calculations and stacks and regional directors. You let him believe the exit is coming, not because you believe it yourself, but because it keeps him manageable. The top of the stack and high-key frenzy leaks suddenly look less like breaking news, and more like a sedation protocol dressed up in legal jargon. Anyway, I'm happy to go. We think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking, there was no racketeering. Everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose. And that he second-guessed the jury's verdict. Then there's the reported emotional state. And this is where it gets almost insulting. Diddy is supposedly ecstatic, in high spirits, extremely happy about this new update. Those are the words being pushed through the Whisper network, and they are worth examining because of what else is piling up around him. A man facing a brand new lawsuit with an underage plaintiff, a man with an active criminal review in Los Angeles County that could produce a second trial, a man whose own appeal is unresolved and could fail. That man is reportedly ecstatic. That is not resilience. That is either delusion or someone is carefully managing his emotions with information designed to keep the panic at bay until the next crisis hits. The ecstatic framing does the same work the steak on the patio image does. It paints a picture of a man who is fine, who is confident, who is already mentally redecorating his mansion. The picture is too clean, and it arrives exactly when the real picture is getting dirtier by the day. Because the week before this rumor surfaced, the public narrative around Diddy was in freefall. A tape had leaked, and the content was humiliating enough that 50 Cent immediately jumped on it, and 50 Cent does not let things go. Music he amplifies, he memes, he turns someone else's shame into content that spreads faster than any legal filing ever could. Daphne was doing interviews daily, keeping the story alive in a way that no PR team could drown out. The mockery was not happening in a corner. It was loud, public, and relentless. And then, music as if on cue, the BOP